Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, dear honorable speakers and participants, it is an honor for me to greet all of you from Germany, Australia, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia. Thank you for your interest on joining us in our webinar, which topic Pharmacy Education Response to COVID-19. Know what to do and be prepared. This webinar is organized by the Faculty of Pharmacy Universitas Gadjah Mada, Indonesia, in collaboration with the Pharmacy Education and Research Network, or ASEAN PharmNet, and Senior Expertise Services, or SAS Germany. Before starting our event, let me introduce myself. My name is Triana Hertiani. I'm a lecturer and also a Vice Dean for Academic and Student Affairs at the Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Gadjah Mada. And I will be hosting through the season of this webinar as a moderator. So foremost, to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to gain the most from the webinar session, I would like to remind the participants to follow the ground rules. Okay. So our ground rules for participants, it's your microphone will be automatically muted. You will have the opportunity to engage with the panelists and each other via online chat room. Be respectful of other participants and panelists. Keep your comments on topics and succinct. Submit your question to the panelists in the Q&A window, and you may mention the panelist name to address your question. Do not pause and request for technical support in the chat room. Do not provide your feedback about the quality of the session. You will be given the opportunity to do this by completing a survey at the webinar's conclusion. And this webinar is recorded and is live streamed on the Kanal Pengetahuan Farmasi UGM Gadjah Mada, Universitas Gadjah Mada YouTube channel. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic has put drastic measures on public activities. While university remains closed, the teaching and learning activities must continue. Even though the adoption of e-learning has been growing exponentially even before the pandemic, but restriction and challenge in resources has forced some university to explore for more innovative tools and models to adjust. Inevitably, the global pandemic is also impacting the pharmacy education, while ensuring that the students remain engaged with their studies through replacement of in-class meetings with the online classes, restriction to laboratory activities, and cancellation of internship might affect the student opportunity in developing the essential skills. It becomes worth discussing how online classes, innovative approaches, and different assessment methods can be utilized effectively to promote students attaining the necessary skill set to be a professional pharmacist. And to build the sense of solidarity among pharmacy faculties across countries, these webinars aim to facilitate networks between national and international faculties to share their experience and their successful teaching models for pharmacy education in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So, ladies and gentlemen, this webinar is also supported by the Ministry of Education and Culture Indonesia. Therefore, joining with us today, the representative of the Director General of Higher Education, Professor Dr. Arif Junaidi. And good afternoon, Professor Arif Junaidi.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Jana. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us in this webinar.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will hear the opening speech soon. I would like to invite Professor Arif Junaidi. The time is yours.
Thank you very much, Ibu Triana Herdiati and Excellency Prof. Agung, as the Dean of the Pharmacies Faculty at the Gajah Mada University, Vice Dean, all the expert, professor, and all the participants on the webinar today, Pharmacy Education Response to COVID-19. I myself, as Arif Junaidi, I'm the Director of the Student and Learning Affairs, representing today our Director General of Higher Education, Prof. Nisan. He cannot join with us today, saying he's got another commitment. He have to meet our Ministry of Education and Culture this afternoon. So today we would like to thanks and supporting this webinar. This is a very important topic, and the theme of today is pharmacy education response on COVID-19 is very important one. And I would like to mentioning what our policy in the Ministry of Education in response e-learning policy during the pandemic COVID-19, and also in the new normal for the e-learning policy. The first one, for our ministry side, the Ministry of Education and Culture, we providing the platform for the university to use and access learning resources from other universities. We've got a platform here, spada.kemdikbud.go.id. This is the resources of the material content online learning, the SPADA. The second one, for the university in Indonesia, with the limited online resources, the Directorate General of Higher Education also providing the kuliahdaring.kemdikbud.go.id, another platform. This platform, as well as partnership and support from Google in the implementation of online learning. The third one, the partnership with the telecommunication provider to establish free internet access for the student as well as for the lecturer. The fourth, sustainable training and capacity building for academic personnel to increase the ability to produce material and content in e-learning. So we were doing a training to all our lecturers in a parallel one during the next 2 or 3 months. The fifth one, the opportunity to establish credit transfer, credit earning between university through online learning. The last one, we also encouraging our students, all our students here in Indonesia to utilize the international MOOCs such as FedEx, Coursera, and all the source material that can do for the online or e-learning program during the study during the pandemic COVID-19. Once again, thank you very much for this invitation, and good luck, and hope that all the panelists here can share the best practice during the COVID-19 here. And also, again, thank you very much. This is the end that I can share. And also, of course, it's my best regard from our Director General of Higher Education. So thank you very much for all. See you and good luck. Thank you very much.
Please, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor Arif Junaidi, for giving us the opening remarks and for giving us very important information about how the ministry policy to support the sustainability of education in Indonesia in spite of this pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the main session of this webinar. We will have 5 distinguished speakers who will present how their university responds to the COVID-19 crisis. We will divide it into 2 plenary sessions, and for the first session, we will have Dr. Vivian MA, She's from the Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. I think I should greet her. Hello, Vivian. How are you?
Hi, Prof. Tiana. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Okay. And Dr. Vivian Mark is a registered pharmacy with academic experience in both Australia and Malaysia. She is currently a lecturer and simulation lead for the Vertical Integrated Masters at the Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences at Monash University, encompassing creative contribution to the OSCE programs and MyDispense technology, a freely available online pharmacy simulation developed by the Monash University. MyDispense provides opportunity to teach, practice, and assess the medication use process at a level of detail and difficulty corresponding to students' knowledge and experience. Very interesting. She has interest in cultural communication and led the development of an online training module on cultural communication alongside with University of North Carolina and University College London. She was awarded Australia's Young Pharmacist of the Year by the PSA in 2010. Okay, I think everyone's looking forward to hear the presentation of Dr. Vivian Mark. I'm pleased to invite you to share your presentation. The time is yours, Vivian. Thank you.
Thanks, Prof. Triana. I will need to have access to actually share the slides. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. I can't actually share my slides because the host has to give me access to share slides. It's not allowing me to share slides. Okay, thank you. All right. Hoping you can see this well. So thank you very much to Prof. Tiana and also the universities for giving me the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about what we've done at Monash University and how we've adapted our teaching and learning during COVID-19. So I guess my position is really I'm a lecturer, so I'm talking from a standpoint of as a teacher, not so much on the policy level. I'm obviously not a dean, so more around how we've made some implementations in our teaching and learning during this pandemic. So for those of you who don't know where Monash University is, we are in Melbourne, Australia, and currently it's about 4:20 p.m. So it's about almost evening time. So good afternoon to all of you. So just a brief background, I guess, for those who don't really know much about Monash University's pharmacy program is that we have an instructional model that already has a lot of flipped learning. And this is an instructional model that we call the DEAR model. We developed this ourselves and they stand for Discover, Explore, Apply, and Reflect. Discover is essentially pre-learning. So maybe you've heard about active learning or about a flipped classroom. So the Discover component is where they do all their pre-learning material. So whether it's readings, videos, or anything that we've curated for them, obviously in a very structured manner. The E stands for Explore, and this is where you have lectures. I'm not so sure about what lectures, the structure that you have, but for us, our lectures are no longer didactic, which means that our lectures are interactive. There is no one-way street. The students have to come prepared. If not, they're not going to get much out of the lecture. So they do teamwork activities, role plays, they do Q&A sessions and trivia sometimes. The apply session is what we call small group workshops or laboratory sessions. So we have about almost sometimes 200 students or more, maybe up to 300 in the class. But when we come to the apply workshops, they come down to about 25 to 30 students a session. So it's small group learning, and they have an individualized pharmacist tutor or a facilitator within that area that runs through the workshops and labs with them. The last component is what we call Reflect, and Reflect is where we have a skills coaching program. About 10 to 12 students will have either an academic skills coach or a practitioner, and they meet every other few weeks, and we talk about skills development, and they have an e-portfolio and coaching. So I guess it sounds like it's a good preparation for a pandemic because we've got a lot of our stuff online. However, we also have a lot of face-to-face activities they have to come to class for lectures. And because they're not didactic, you can't really record and just present it to them. We have to think of ways and innovative ways on how they can still interact with each other. The workshops as well, they're all in-person activities. And if you're not aware, Melbourne has had very strict restrictions around how we move during the pandemic. So we could not have any students on campus in the last essentially 12 weeks. They came on the first day for orientation. And then by the end of the day, 5 p.m., there was a directive where no one is allowed. Basically, we're all in lockdown. So we had pretty much 48 hours to turn everything around and find a way to still give students the best experience that they will have, but still retaining the quality of our course. So I'm going to go through each component and see how we've actually made these changes. So thinking about our instructional model, we have kept that instructional model, which is very structured for the students. We use our learning management system. We use what we call our learning management system is Moodle. You might have Blackboard or different types of LMSs, but we have Moodle. And on Moodle, we have basically different topics that are respective to each of the weeks that they're studying. So we have a 12-week course. So we essentially have about 11 weeks, 11 topics, and a revision topic. So this is an example of one of the topics within my unit around health literacy. And we structure them in a very consistent manner. Discovery is what we call pre-learning material. They have Monday. So Mondays are off for them. There is their protected time for them to study. And we have little books in there that we have curated for them. They're online interactive lectures on Tuesday, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. It's asynchronous, which means that they don't have to dial in and listen to you live. They can do it whenever they would like. And on the Thursday, we have workshops, and we do that over Zoom. On the Friday, we will have what we call a closed loop. So because they don't really see us as much, we have that at the end of the week where they can come all together in a webinar like what you're looking at now. So they can see me, but I can't really see them, but they can ask me questions along the way. So I'm going to go through each component in there and tell you how we've actually made this change. In terms of the curated material, in a way, we were quite lucky that a lot of the stuff is already online. So we didn't really have to change all of the stuff to be delivered online. This is an example of a page or a book. And as Prof. Triana mentioned before, my expertise is around cultural communication. So we already have developed online modules for students. The online modules are sometimes text-based, so there are sentences in there, and they might be given chapters of a textbook to read. They might be given videos to watch. However, one of the things we need to take into account, which I've learned it the hard way, is where even though you give them videos, you have to be very clear with your instructions as to what they're watching in the video, what they should look out for, what questions to ask themselves if they're watching a video. A lot of times, if you give a student a textbook chapter to read, they get really lost. So it's really good to have some guidelines and structure for the students. As I talked about our online interactive lectures, they are not didactic. So we struggle a little bit as to how we can make this work. And we thought about a way where you can do it somewhat like a quiz. So we have little mini videos that we film and we record. So it'll be introduction to the topic. And then we have little questions or activities as they go along the way. So an example would be around cultural competency is a topic that I do. I have an introductory lecture, maybe about 5 minutes, never go more than 8 minutes, the student's attention span. So it drops after you're watching a video about 8 minutes. Then we give them an activity where they can answer. Now you might think, how do you respond to 200 answers from students? We don't mark these, but what we do is we give them a feedback video. So when they finish the answers, they'll watch a video from me telling them what their ideal answer would be, or what their ideal reflections or responses to that question would be. They can then look at that video and compare to what they've written and think about how far or how close they've gotten their answers. So that's what we call asynchronous. That's because we have a lot of international students, and our international students were either locked out of the country because the borders closed, or a lot of them actually left the country because parents or families would like them closer back home. So we wanted to make sure that having synchronous session means you have to take into account time differences and also equity issues. So not everyone has good internet access. So this allows them to be able to do it in their own time and not be too stressed over joining. However, we do have some synchronous stuff, so things that we do live. So this is an example of a workshop that we do, and we do them every single week. There is a facilitator, so you can see on the top left-hand corner, we've got our facilitator there, and we have about 20, sometimes about 18 to 20 students in the class. Zoom has the functionality of doing breakout rooms, so you can send them out into mini rooms and they can do teamwork activities, and then the facilitator can roam around. Now, when you get students to do Zoom workshops, again, you need to give very, very clear instructions as to what they should expect. So like I said, we have all our stuff onto the Moodle page on our learning management systems. We have instructions. If you have any notes for the workshops, you put them in there. Always give very clear instructions. So you might say the workshop is 2 hours, then you have to set it out. What do you need to do before the workshop? What happens in the first 15 minutes, second 15 minutes, half an hour, so that they have a good expectation of what to do. They can also download documents and so on. So the students have found that doing it actually online has been quite useful because it's reduced the travel time to university. As you can see, some of them have probably just rolled out of bed and just joined on. And we found that because lectures are not compulsory, that our attendance was actually a lot higher doing it online, maybe because they were listening. They could just roll out of bed, I guess, and just jump on and just be part of a class. Having said so, it does not replace face-to-face. You know, we can never replace face-to-face activities. So we are going back onto campus in semester 2 with social distancing. I talked a little bit about a closed loop lecture. And for those participants who are on the call, you will notice that you can't, your video is not on, but you can see us, you can talk to us, you can do a Q&A. And that's exactly what the students are experiencing, just like you. I'm the lecturer, so I'm here giving you the presentation and I can see the Q&A functionalities come on. It's good when you have large groups of students because you are giving them examples and they can ask you questions, they can upvote questions so you know what is it that they are not or they're struggling with. A good thing to also consider is take into account some of the current news articles or the news that's happening and how that fits into your course. I was teaching for this one a health literacy course. So I brought in the importance of having a medicines list and why it's important during COVID-19. So the students actually understand that the things that they're learning are relevant, are current. So it's really important to bring some of those aspects in as well. As Prof. Chiana mentioned, my role at the faculty is I am the OSCE lead, so a simulation lead. So anything to do with simulation, I oversee. So I'm not too sure if you're familiar with OSCEs, but they're objective structured clinical examinations. They are more, they are used more in faculty of medicine, probably when they do clinical examinations and they do those tests. It's increasingly used in pharmacy where you do role plays, when you get them to examine them to do inhaler techniques and so on. Of course, that requires a face-to-face situation. So the challenges is replicating a face-to-face OSCE online. There's internet access issues because if you can't download, you can't do the exam. There's a heavy reliance on technology. The other thing that we need to talk about is academic integrity. Students can cheat, students can communicate with each other. You cannot control that situation. But what you see there on the screen is examples of my students who have done this activity online at home and over Zoom. So we gave them a task where they need to educate someone about a medicines list, and they are given a time frame to be able to record this video. So you see that some of them have recorded at home with their family members, but you also see at the bottom right-hand corner, there are 2 students who've actually worked with each other. They recorded the interaction over Zoom. Now, what we're trying to teach them is telehealth. You know, Melbourne or Australia in itself, pharmacists are doing the medication reviews as telehealth reviews because you can't leave the house. So it's a good example to teach them how their body language changes when they're over the camera. Sometimes they don't realize that you can actually still see them when they're laughing, thinking you can't see them. So posture, body language and everything is a different skill to learn over sort of telehealth type activities. Now, some of these things I covered in my FIP presentation a couple of weeks back. But they wanted, I guess, some practical things that you can do if you were to go back onto campus. In this case, obviously, there are social distancing considerations. When you have 300 students, you can't get them all back at the same time because they have to be 1.5 meters apart at every time. So we need to obviously follow social distancing guidelines in terms of space. So for OSCEs, usually you have multiple different stations or different types of assessments run at the same time. Only retain the ones that can be assessed live, convert the ones that you can go online. Modify those that are better off doing a video recording assessment. So if you want them to demonstrate that they know how to use an inhaler, you can get them to record it at home if they have one, or get them to record it in their own time. So that reduces the amount of students coming onto campus. And you can also convert what we call the non-active stations to different types of assessments. So if you're asking them to come onto campus so that they can do calculations in front of you, maybe consider moving it into something else where they don't need to come on campus, maybe an online quiz that would reduce the amount of students coming back. There are some competency assessments that can be done on experiential placements. I think Prof. Triana and others have talked a little bit about the fact that you cannot go out, send the students out to hospitals and so on because of the pandemic. But most of our students have still been going out on placement with obviously proper protective equipment. But some of these assessments can be done on their placement sites if they're going out on placement sites. So the ability to do blood pressure monitoring, why ask ourselves to do it on campus when the preceptor can probably tick them off and assess them on placement. So if you can do double dipping, probably try and go down that path too. When you're running some exams, you need to factor in cleaning time. So when you have students coming in doing role play, so they're touching inhalers, they're touching blood pressure monitors, and then you have a next student coming in. Now with COVID-19, you have to clean every single thing before the next student comes because of transmission and so on. So if normally your exam takes 10 minutes, you might want to factor in 15 minutes a student because someone needs to clean everything down before the next student comes in. So it's really important to consider these. I talked a little bit about a video recording assessment. Again, provide very clear instructions to students. Our students are they're millennials, they're very tech savvy, but you'll be surprised how many of them don't actually know how to record videos. If they're using their smartphone, even instructions such as don't record it in portrait mode, record it in landscape mode, because then when the examiner marks it, everyone is actually tilting their head to watch the videos because it's recorded a wrong way. If you're asking them to record over Zoom, give them clear instructions. Zoom has lots of user guides. Don't repeat them, just take it off Zoom. How to record the role play, even telling them how to click the record button. I've had to learn along the way how to use Zoom webinars, and I'm sure all of us are also learning when you're using it for the first time. Where and how to submit a recording. So if you're submitting it on a learning management system, make sure that it accepts big files. If it doesn't, you need to also teach them how to compress files. And do not ever assume text instruction is sufficient. You can have a lot of text instructions. The students are still going to ask you the same questions over and over again. So consider having a bit of both, like text and video instructions. We also give post-assessment feedback. So when, I don't know how many times, if you're a lecturer, students want to know why they didn't do right, or why didn't they get the right mark, or why did they do bad? Now, when you have 200 students, it's really hard to give individual feedback to 200 students. So we usually try to give them back feedback in a very structured manner, which is keep, start, stop. If you haven't heard this before, it's essentially what the students should keep doing, what they should start doing. So things that they have been doing very well, they can keep doing. Things that they haven't been doing, they can start doing. Things that they do, for example, laughing when the patient says, I've got cancer, maybe they should stop doing that. So when we give keep, start, stop, they get into a habit of giving each other feedback in that manner. And we found it to be quite successful. I guess finally, this is my final slide. Prof. Triana talked about MyDispense. If you haven't heard MyDispense before, it's a virtual pharmacy simulation that the Faculty of Pharmacy has developed here at Melbourne, Australia. It's a virtual pharmacy simulation, not just for dispensing, but there's also a hospital version, an over-the-counter version, so people can come in and ask you for a product for constipation, for example. They could have a prescription. So if you're interested in knowing much more about this virtual pharmacy simulation, you can head to our website, which is on the slide, or on Twitter as well. So the good thing about this is it's not a software you download. It's actually as long as you have internet access, as long as you can go online and have a laptop, you can probably use this software. It's shared around the world. So we use it at Monash University, but we've shared it over 120 universities around the world, including the US, UK, Hong Kong, Namibia, and so on. Due to COVID-19, everyone wanted the simulation because no one can go out on placements. So we have been inundated with requests. And the question is, how much does it cost? It doesn't cost anything because Monash gives it to you for free and we bear the cost for hosting. So we actually pay for you to actually have the software. You might be asking why we do it. It's our philosophy. We've built something. We spent a lot of money building a simulation. If we can give back, that's our way of giving back. What we request for is a community of educators who are willing to share the things that they've learned. So if I'm creating exercises, I'm more than willing to share it with people in Jamaica, for example, who are our new partners. And then they might share it with people from Hong Kong, for example. So for Indonesia, you can also put in your own products in there. You just need to take your own photos, for example, and put it into the dispensary. I know Hong Kong has done it, and all the other countries have done it as well. So if you're interested, like I said, feel free to hop onto the website, get in touch with us, and we're more than happy to help you out. But the time frame to get it is delayed a little bit because we are inundated by requests. But other than that, I think that's it from me. And hopefully you've learned a little bit about how we've made some changes to our program and also be able to share with you some of the challenges that we face. I must say, though, it hasn't been rosy. We've learned along the way. There's some things that didn't work and some things work. So I think it's really important for us to listen to what our students want and also be very open to feedback from our students as well.
Okay, that's very impressive presentation, Vivian. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it gives us a real example of how the online learning can work excellent in pharmacy education, especially when you talk about this MyDispense. Yes. I cannot agree more with you also about emphasizing on how the well-designed online learning, especially clear instruction, and also concern about the feedback for students is very essential, and how innovative approaches may promote student engagement on the online learning. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, before we start to our second panelist, let me remind you to submit a question to the Q&A windows. Later, the panelists will give response either directly in the Q&A windows or and selected question will be answered live at the end of each session. Okay, now we'll move to our second speaker, Dr. Zeno. Hello, Dr. Zeno. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you, Prof. Joanna.
Okay.
How's everything going?
Okay, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Associate Professor Dr. Zainal Akbar Zainal is a Deputy Dean of Academic Affairs at the Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Cyberjaya, Malaysia. Dr. Zainal is a lecturer and he earned his Bachelor of Science Pharmacy from Dalhousie University, Canada in 2001. Master in Clinical Pharmacy from University Kebangsaan Malaysia in 2004, and PhD in Clinical Pharmacy from University Sains Malaysia in 2010. He began teaching at University of Cyberjaya in 2011 and was promoted the position as an associate professor in 2014. So the Professor Zainal research interest is in the field of clinical pharmacy, especially in cardiology, psychiatry, and geriatry. Apart from that, he is also interested in the area of pharmacy education. In 2016, he led the Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Cyberjaya to introduce the Pharmacy Professional Examination or PPE. he has been invited for various teaching learning activities in Malaysian and international university. So I think we are all looking forward to hear your presentation, Dr. Zeno. I think the time is yours, please. Okay, please. Time is yours.
Thank you, Prof. Rena. Can I? Okay, okay. Can you see my screen? Sorry. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to those in Germany. First and foremost, I would like to thank the organizing committee, UGM, for hosting this webinar and for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of our experience in continuing the provision of pharmacy education at the Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Sarjaya, Malaysia. Here are my outlines. I'll start off with how prepared were we as a faculty, and then some of the changes that we made to our teaching and learning methods, the staff and student acceptance, and finally on what has the pandemic taught us as educators. So I'll begin with how prepared were we. To be honest, I don't think anyone was prepared for the pandemic and for the drastic change in the pharmacy education or education in general, and we certainly were not as well. Our campus is located in Selangor, Malaysia, in which back in March 2020, it has the highest number of cases of COVID-19. So our university had to make a bold, drastic, and immediate change to our teaching learning sessions. All lectures, tutorials, and all other academic activities, as a matter of fact, were decided to be made online. We are lucky in the sense that all of our lecturers are quite familiar with or have some experience either in conducting online lectures or in incorporating some of the online lecture materials like Kahoot and Blend Space and stuff. But when 100% of the teaching and learning activities are to be made online, we were actually quite worried. And all these questions started to cloud our minds. For example, like how am I going to do this? Which platform am I going to use? Is it going to work and stuff like that? So what changes were made to our teaching and learning methods? It was not easy to make decisions as a faculty on the changes that are going to be implemented. So we are thankful that the governing bodies, such as the Ministry of Education Malaysia, Malaysian Qualification Agency, the Ministry of Health itself, and most importantly, our professional body, the Pharmacy Board of Malaysia, and the university has produced numerous circulars and guidelines to guide us make our decisions. These are some of the teaching, learning activities and assessment plans that were made from March to May 2020. We started off by improvising all of our teaching learning methods in March. And on March 27th, based on the students' feedback, which mainly said that they miss to hear our voices, they miss to see our faces and stuff, we changed from just providing the students with PowerPoint slides to providing them with audio recorded slides. We also changed from providing lecture materials in PDF documents to conducting live recorded lectures via Zoom.
Dr. Zainal, excuse
Yes.
me, we cannot hear you perfectly. Can you raise your voice a bit?
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Should I be close? Is it okay now? Or?
I think it's better now. Yeah.
Is it better now? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the fan. Sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, I'll continue on April Fool's Day. We updated on our continuous assessments and final examination scope. We updated the industrial training and research projects for year 3 and community pharmacy attachment for year 1. I'll talk a little bit more on this one later on. One of the biggest things we decided was to decide on conducting computer-based examination or CBE. Now, up until today, I can say that we are all set. We are comfortable with what we're doing now, but definitely there's more things to learn. I'll start off with some of the teaching learning methods that has been conducted. As you can see, these are some of the examples of screenshots by one of our senior lecturers who conducted a live recorded lecture on pharmaceutical calculations via Zoom. All of our practical sessions and labs were changed to virtual labs. The virtual labs were used mainly for pharmaceutical analysis courses and also the PCCAL, computer-aided learning for pharmacology courses. They were also use of relevant YouTube videos for good industrial practice course. The 1 week primary care clinic or centers attachment was unfortunately had to be cancelled and changed to creative video presentations, which were to be prepared by students. The 2 week final year or year 4 clinical clerkships, which were planned at various hospitals in Malaysia, had to be immediately cancelled as well, unfortunately, and we changed it to virtual medical records. So basically, the clinical pharmacy lecturers were assigned a number of cases to prepare that follows the same or the exact, almost similar same format as the patient's actual medical records in hospitals. I'll move on very quickly to some of the assessments, changes in the assessments that we made. As Dr. Vivian mentioned before, we're quite new, but we conducted OSCE quite regularly. This semester alone, we have OSCE planned for all years, year 1 to year 4. For year 1 students, we have OSCE planned for the compounding and dispensing. For year 2 is for introduction to clinical pharmacy. For year 3 is for primary care and medication management. And for year 4 is for clinical pharmacy courses. So unfortunately, the regular OSCE, or fortunately for students actually, the OSCE had to be cancelled and changed to online assignments. Online assignments, these are, sorry about that. Okay, to online assignments. These are some of the snapshots of examples of online assignments where students had to prepare counseling videos based on their creativity and they had to do their own setups and stuff based on the prescription given. And this assignment was mainly to cover the psychomotor and the affective learning outcome domains that were originally intended for the OSCE stations. Apart from the counseling video, we also have what we call as reflective writing. So in this particular exercise, the students had to respond to some of the questions based on case scenarios on ethical issues in pharmacy. Apart from the undergraduates OSCE, we also have OSCE that is planned for Masters in Clinical Pharmacy students, which is one of their main assessments. But since it is scheduled in July, so we thought that we have a little bit more time to prepare. So instead of converting the OSCE for master students to online assignments, we decided to conduct a tele-OSCE instead, which will be conducted in July. It is still at a planning stage for now, but we hope that it goes as well as planned. I move on to OSPE, or practical examination for basic sciences courses. These speeches were actually related to the general pathophysiology course. In this particular online assessments, so the OSPE was changed to online assessments. So basically what happened was the students were given answer booklets, and on the scheduled OSPE session, they had to fill out the answers by referring to the provided slide sets. one of the exciting things or activities for the year 3 students in this semester is the 3D pharmaceutical plan projects. Again, unfortunately, they had to be changed to a 2D project, but students responded positively to this change. Our experiential learning, the community pharmacy attachments for year 1 students and industrial training for year 3 students had to be postponed to a new semester. As I agree with Dr. Vivian said before that we postponed these activities to not only allow the students to be able to learn from their experience by being on the field, but also for them to get a little bit of taste of the real working environment. Perhaps one of the biggest moves that we had to make was to change from paper-based examination to computer-based examination. We have never done that before. So what we had to do was we conducted 2 trial exams for academic staff and 3 trial exams for students just to look into the feasibility. And after the decision was made, we prepared complete guides and infographics for students and staff for them to be better prepared for the exams. Now, how would our staff and students accepted the changes? Now, this is reflecting actually my personal journey during the week 1 of the quarantine. I myself had a very hard time coping with working from home, and I'm sure some of you had similar issues. I hope so anyway. But in week 2, or actually I wasn't sure which week it was, but things were starting to get a lot better from week to week. We had a good momentum going into from week 2 to week 3 and so on and so forth, and we also were able to adapt to the new norms quite well. We conducted a simple survey to students on how they thought about the online learning. We found that at least 2/3 of our students use their laptops or desktops. Only a few use their smartphones due to various issues. They had good internet connection. They had no problems accessing the online materials, and they were ready for computer-based examinations. Of course, there were a few percentages of students who had difficulty with either internet connectivity or internet speed. One of our, or actually the top student, our final year top students, Mr. Jia Hao here, shared on the university's Instagram page that online learning has helped him develop effective self-directed learning, and that he was able to learn at his own pace with less stress compared to conventional learning. So we thought that was good. So what has the pandemic taught us as educators? I'm sure this was a wake-up call for everyone, all educators, pharmacy educators included. For me especially, I'm not an IT savvy kind of person, so it tells me to, it necessitates the utilization of online learning tools or materials for my teachings or later on. The pandemic has also taught us as faculty members to not only be able to adapt, but to be able to quickly adapt rather, to face some drastic changes in the future. The Higher Education Ministry of Malaysia has announced that all lectures and academic activities are to be conducted online. So we definitely have to work smarter now, but most importantly, without jeopardizing the quality of our future graduates. As comfortable as we are getting with the online learnings and platforms and stuff like that, there will be students who, despite their best efforts, face issues with the internet, either connectivity or speed, things like that. So these are some of the things that we have to look into further to ensure that ideally we want 100% of students to have no problem at all with the internet connectivity and speed, so that it could facilitate their learning. I've come to my last few slides. And lastly, I would like to thank all of my colleagues, especially my dean, as you can see, who's sitting in the middle in blue there, for her continuous support and motivating words to all of us to go through these difficult and tough times as academicians. Like I said, we, Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Cyberjaya, we are still new compared to other universities, more established universities in Malaysia. So we're happy that what we have achieved so far. I think the last few months has been a true test of teamwork, and as a faculty, I could say that we aced that. Lastly, I'd like to take this opportunity to big Eid Mubarak to all of the, any of you celebrating Eid out there. The Shawwal month is not over, so let's continue to celebrate. But most importantly, let's keep praying that the pandemic will be over soon, that things will be back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you. Waalaikumsalam. Eid Mubarak to you all also.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, Dr. Zeno. It is really mind-opening to see the transformation of teaching and learning in your faculty, from face-to-face to the online activities, and also the innovative approaches, including the pharmaceutical plant projects. It is interesting also to hear that how you prepare not only the student, but also the lecturers for the transformation. Yeah. I think that's really such a challenge, right?
Yeah, it was.
Lecturer is also always the challenge.
Yeah, we had to learn first.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I think we come to the Q&A session. We have collected some interesting questions from you, and I will ask the panelists to give response. The first question is from for Dr. Vivian. To Dr. Vivian Ma, does the university usually hold written assessment? And if so, how have you modified this assessment to ensure the quality of assessment is ensured and that the integrity is upheld? So it's from anonymous attendee. So it's about academic integrity. How about it, Vivian?
Yeah, I think it's a it's a core thing, isn't it? Academic integrity. When you go online, you can't really see what the students do. So I don't think there is a good answer to that question. So we started off with proctoring, so which means that you can observe the students online, but then there's still equity issues where some students don't actually want you to see where they're living. I mean, now Zoom has virtual backdrop, so that's okay, but there's obviously that privacy sort of issue. You just have to accept that students will talk to each other. They're going to use their WhatsApp. They're going to be on Facebook groups. We know all these things happen, but it's how we change our assessments. So we still run written assessments. We just finished our course. Today is the last day, and exams are coming up soon. So firstly, your written exam should be written in a way that even if they have access to anything, they should still be able to answer it in your own words. If they're able to find the answer off Google, that's not a good question to start with. So I think the first thing is give questions that require them to give examples. That's a good way to give those written exams. Now use text matching softwares like Turnitin and so on to catch them out for plagiarism or collusion. So we unfortunately we have had those situations where students are writing similar answers. Because when you have similar markers marking it, you can tell over time that if a student is copying another student. The other thing that we've tried to do is give variations of questions or question banks. I did an assessment where it's 2 different case scenarios. Everything is the same, except that I changed one word in there, which is a drug. One was perindopril and one was amlodipine. The students obviously didn't know there were 2 separate ones. We didn't make it known. When you do the exam, you can't tell. And we found maybe a handful of students who wrote the wrong drug from a different question. And the first thing is, how is that possible? They say, oh, I found it on Google. I was like, wow, you have to tell me how you got it off Google, because that's pretty amazing if you can get the other question off Google. So question banks are really good, making slight variations. But also, I think as pharmacists, integrity is really important. Those, I still think it's a bell-shaped curve. Those students who are never going to cheat, whether they're on campus, online, they're never going to cheat. The ones that always want to cheat, they will still cheat if you're on campus. It's the one in between that are tempted by the ability, oh, it's there, I can talk to my friends, but you need to explain to them the importance of being a pharmacist. When you come out on practice, you're going to be in the midst of X amount of drugs. People are going to come and ask you, can I have a controlled drug? What's 2 tablets, to take out of a safe for me? If you're going to cheat now, who is to say that you're not going to do it down the track? And there are research articles out there from the medical faculty saying when medical students, when they graduate, when they have disciplinary problems in practice, when they trace back, they have disciplinary problems in their undergraduate studies. So maybe instilling rather than, and students don't like it that you think they're going to cheat before they even do. I think it's also fair for them to say, well, why don't you trust us? So I think instilling, the importance of honesty and academic integrity as a pharmacist in training is really important because it's something that they need to build over time. So we still do written assessments, and those are the methods that we do to amend them, but they're not perfect. I think we are all still learning, I guess.
Okay. It's really interesting. What your statement is that if the student want they're a cheater, so any kind of method that we use, they still find a way to cheat, right?
Yeah. It's the ones in between that still contemplating whether
okay, I cannot agree more. Okay, so one question for Dr. Zeno. Dr. Zeno, you described that you prepare for student by giving trial before starting or choosing a right method. But do you also, your institution also support about the students' mental health? I mean, this situation, it's quite stressing for everybody, right? How is it then?
Okay, mental health. We have our counselors who are available even before the COVID-19 pandemic to help students coping with their learnings and with the stress and stuff, especially during this period, this difficult period, where the first few weeks when we conduct surveys to students, these are the weeks that students felt that was the most stressful to them, because they were adjusting to to learning from home and stuff like that. So in terms of mental health support, we have counselors that are available.
Okay, very good. Then we do it as well, and I think many of students they say that they really has difficulties to concentrate or to focus. And how you promote the student to change, to transform to the self-directed learning, because it's also not very easy, right? Because it's a sudden transformation.
It's that's a tough question to answer, but
because that's something that I have to face as well.
But so basically we are not like Monash University where everything was set online previously. We were, even the staff just received the training just a few weeks before the what we call as lockdown or movement control order. So a few weeks before, the staff received some trainings on Microsoft Teams and stuff. So we had to quickly share the information with students and ensure them that these methods are going to work and that their learning will not be jeopardized. But obviously, some students still face some issues with the online learning. But like I said, these are something that we have to look into further.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we move again to Vivian. There are a question from Dr. Nanang Munif Yassin to Vivian. On your institution, which part of the OSCE station can be done online and which should be done offline? Can you explain the implementation in more detail? Thank you.
Yep. So choose the stations that students can't cheat. So the ones I'm talking about teaching someone how to use a medicines list or teaching someone how to use an inhaler, what you want to assess them is the ability to do it well. So if they submit a video recording, it means that they're not going to submit a bad one. They're going to submit a good one, obviously. So what's going to happen is they're going to film it multiple times, right? But filming multiple times means they're practicing multiple times. So even though to them, you know, they're happy with whatever they're sending in, yes, it might mean that a lot of students get high marks because they've done really well, but it also means that they're practiced to the point of, you know, doing it really well. So things that require improvement in practice, so counseling on inhalers or things that they can, it's done through replication, then you can do those sort of online and recorded. The ones when you say online but synchronous over Zoom, now you have to also really be very selective. So when you say you want to get them to teach someone how to use inhaler, you can do over Zoom, but then you have to make the assumption that every student has an inhaler at home. So what we're going to do next semester is that the patient, which is going to be on campus, will be the ones with the inhaler. And they're going to do a telehealth counseling. And instead of the student showing them how to use it, they will say, hi, Triana, you know, you're the pharmacist. I think I'm struggling how to use this inhaler. Can I show you how I'm using it? And it's a different skill. So showing is very different from observing and correcting. So you're kind of assessing the ability to communicate effectively to say, oh, actually, you know, you need to remove the cap first, you know, so they have to observe. Now, that's a good way in terms of academic integrity because they can't tell each other what the problem is. You can just make a variety of cases with different problems. The first one, you didn't prime. The second student comes in, you didn't shake. The third one comes in, you turn it upside down. So you have a variety of cases where students don't know what to expect, but they need to observe and be able to communicate effectively. So there are various ways on doing it. You just need to have more types of variations of cases. So don't be afraid. I think the main thing is I'm sharing my experiences, but don't be afraid to try. And if you don't succeed, that's also okay. It's just because sometimes things just don't work. And talking about students' mental health, it's okay to tell the students that sometimes we won't make things right. We are all learning. So when they don't get it right, we also need to be empathetic to them and say, we understand it's new for you. It's okay. Don't be stressed. I had a student oversleep for the test. I mean, I don't even know what day it is now because I'm at home all the time. So I said, so I said, well, you know, it's fine. You get half the marks, but we'll give you another attempt. So we need to be quite empathetic with our students.
Okay. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I can agree about that, about the student oversleep because it's really, they stay all the time in their room. Maybe it's difficult to differentiate about the time span. Okay, so one more question to Dr. Zeno. It's from Anggraini. Assalamualaikum. My name is Andi Anggraini from Hasanuddin University and also from the graduate student of clinical pharmacy of UGM. I would like to ask Professor Zeno, thanks you for a very nice presentation. My question is about online assessment. What we have to prepare about a pricer or what kind of question topic in online assessment? Maybe you can give some of the examples.
So can you say the question again?
Okay. So about online assessment, what we have to prepare about the pricer, about what kind of question topic in online assessment.
I'll try to answer the question. Okay. Right. So before we decided on the assessments, what we did was we looked at the existing assessment and we convert it to online. But the key is not to change what the intended outcomes of the assessments. For example, if I go back to the OSCE stations, where we have specific outcomes intended for one station. For example, one station was planned to assess effective learning outcome domains of a student. So we convert it to an online assessment that could assess the effective learning outcomes as well. For example, we thought that reflective writing on ethical issues in pharmacy could, maybe not entirely, but could tell us a little bit more on the students' affective or empathy in this stuff.
Okay.
So other assessments like the quizzes were changed to online quizzes, things like that. I'm not sure. I hope that answered the question, but
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So the bottom line is about we have to care about the learning outcome that wants to be achieved, right? Okay.
That's what we felt. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. There are some more questions but I think because we have limited time, I think I should thank for Dr. Zeno and also for Dr. Vivian MA for a very nice discussion we have in this session. Thank you for both of you.
Thank you.
And okay, and we will come to our second plenary lectures. And we have three speakers, our distinguished speakers. The first one will be my boss, Professor Dr. Agung Endro Nugroho. So I think I have to introduce him the right way, the most right way, because he's my boss. He's the Dean of Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Indonesia. Professor Agung Endro Nugroho is a lecturer and researcher at the Department of Pharmacology and Clinical Pharmacy, and he is currently also serves as the Dean of the Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Gadjah Mada. He completed his undergraduate and postgraduate studies at the Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Gadjah Mada, and obtained his PhD in pharmacology at the School of Medicine, Ehime University, Japan. His corpus in H index is 14 from 65 publication in Scopus. Professor Agung has been Vice President of Association of Indonesian Pharmacy Higher Education, or IPCE, for supporting academic affairs, Board of Director of ASEAN Association of Schools of Pharmacy, and a member of Ethics and Discipline Council of Indonesian Pharmacists Association Chapter Yogyakarta. In 2015, he was the first winner of the Lecturer Award. Dosen berprestasi universitas from the rector of UGM. And in 2016, he was also the first winner in the Lecturer Award in the national level from the Ministry of Research, Technology, and Higher Education in Indonesia. Okay, I think with special excitement, I will invite Professor Agung Endro Nugroho. The time is yours. Looking forward.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Triana, for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Your Excellency, Director of Learning and Student Affairs, Ministry of Education and Culture, Professor Aris Junaidi, honorable speakers, the first Associate Professor Dr. Surakit Natisuwan from Faculty of Pharmacy, Maidol University, Thailand. Associate Professor Dr. Zeno from Cyberjaya University, Malaysia. My senior, Professor Dr. Gerhard Wengel from Hannover University, German. And Dr. Vivian MA, thank you very much. She is from Faculty of Pharmacy, Pharmaceutical Sciences, Monash University, Australia, and moderator, Professor Dr. Triana Hertiani. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share our presentation today. Fine, good. It is clear, Prof. Triana, our slide. Okay, Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to present a topic entitled "What changes have been made and or implemented to teaching and learning due to the COVID-19 pandemic." Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, I would like to start our presentation with Industrial Revolution 4.0. It is a challenge of pharmacy higher education. It is the era of technological disruption. As long as we know that Industry 1.0, it was based on mechanization, steam power, weaving, loom, and etc. And then shift to Industry 2.0. It was based on mass production, assembly line, electrical energy, and etc. And then shift to Industry 3.0. It is based on automatization, computers, and electronics. And now, change to Industry 4.0. It was based on cyber physical systems, Internet of Things, and networks. Ladies and gentlemen, in the Industrial Revolution 4.0, in order for graduates to be competitive, I think the curriculum is needed to be reoriented because the Industrial Revolution 4.0 era, there were not only enough old literacies, for example, reading, writing, and mathematics as a basic for taking part in society and academics. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, what are the new literacies in Industry 4.0? There are three new literacies. The first, data literacies, the ability to read, analyze, and use information, big data in digital things. And the second one, technology literacy or informatic technology literacy, understanding the working of machines, technology application such as coding, artificial intelligence, and engineering principles. And the last one, human literacies, for example, humanities, adaptive skills, communications, leadership, social skills, and etc. Ladies and gentlemen, how about Indonesian government policies? To implement these literacies, Indonesian governments release some government policies about Industrial Revolution 4.0. The first about curriculum reorientation, the second one hybrid blended learning online, and the third one establishing lifelong learning unit, and the last one providing grants and technical guidance services for curriculum reorientation for 400 universities. I would like to explain you all about new curriculum reorientation. In the new curriculum reorientation, Indonesian governments emphasize with new literacies. Data is developed and tough, including soft skill, big data, and informatic technology. And also, Indonesian government emphasize on extracurricular activities in order to increase the capability of leadership skill and teamwork. These competencies should be implemented in the curriculum. And then emphasis on entrepreneurship and internship. These competencies are compulsory. And the second one, hybrid blended learning. I mean that maybe in the near future, start from now, we can combine between offline activity and also online activity. And the third one, establishing lifelong learning unit. It is recommended that higher education institutions have working unit for providing lifelong learning. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, Industrial Revolution 4.0 is a solution in COVID-19 pandemic, or new era. because Industrial Revolution 4.0 need education 4.0. Yeah. The last year, Indonesian government released the policy, namely Kampus Merdeka, to implement concept of education 4.0. Yeah, I think in the COVID-19 pandemic, yeah, it is very, very relevant to implement the concept of Kampus Merdeka and also education 4.0. Yeah, okay. This one. What is the new normal? Yeah, new normal is behavior, change to continue to carry out normal activities, but by implementing health protocols with the aim of preventing COVID-19 transmission. And the new normal was carried out to reactive education, economy, and etc. that are getting impacts by the COVID-19 pandemic. Until when? We don't know. Yeah, maybe until vaccine discovery, herd immunity, SARS-CoV-2 mutation. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share in our university, yeah, Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Gadjah Mada, how to internalize the 3 literacies of Industrial Revolution in our curriculum. In 2017, we did a new curriculum of bachelor, and we named the bachelor curriculum with a soft skill and competency based curriculum, a 4 years program, total credit 145. And in the structure of curriculum, ladies and gentlemen, we insert soft skills 4 credit. And then also we insert course digital transformation to accommodate, the new literacies of big data and Internet of Things. And then in the co-curricular program, we also exposure the soft skills to students. Yeah, for example, character building, English communication skills, public speaking, socio-entrepreneurship, professionalism, leadership, and etc. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what about universities' policy on the COVID-19 pandemic? Middle March, Indonesian government declares the coronavirus pandemic as a national disaster. And middle March, a statement of the rector about emergency response concerning COVID-19 in our university. Principally, our university restrict mobility to and from overseas, and also request all staff members and students to keep staying at home and implementing work from home, teaching and learning from home during the emergency response periods. UGM released academic policies, for example, replaces all academic activities in campus and classes, including practicum, with online activities, and all of staff members to conduct consultation and examination activities by online and use the available systems and application. And encourage all staff members to optimize the existing information technology-based academic system, and cancels any academic activities involving many people, for example, graduation ceremony, conference, change with online activities. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to explain teaching learning activities during COVID-19 pandemic and new normal. Before COVID-19 pandemic, the academic activities are mostly conducted in classroom. I think same, in Indonesia is very, very common that academic activities are mostly conducted in classroom. There are some changes or revolution in academic activities, ladies and gentlemen. In the past, learning and teaching activities is conducted using conventional methods. It is conducted in classroom, and still one-way methods. I mean, one-way methods, the lecturers stand in the front of the class and explain the material to the students. Sometimes, the lecturers provide opportunity for the students for ask something that are related to the course. After that, there is innovation and creativity in academic activities. For example, development of the concept of student-centered learning and problem-based learning. And the teaching activities is conducted two-way methods. Some lecturers also already implemented the flipped classroom, combining the teaching activities with other activities. For example, outdoor classroom, hands-on activities, use academic video, take-home assignment, and etc. The last development is the use of online education in the teaching and learning activities. For example, the use of e-learning, online education. We can use synchronous methods. For example, Webex, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Skype, Google Meet, and etc. And asynchronous methods. For example, e-learning or universities e-learnings. We also can involve learning and teaching videos and upload to YouTube and combines with communication by email, social media groups, faculty websites, and other forms. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share academic activities in my faculty. I would like to start with a lecture activity. For lecture activities, the important thing is online learning and teaching learning must consider courses learning outcomes. In Indonesia, CPA, capaian pembelajaran di kelas. Team teaching use flipped classroom methods or blended learning. And lectures method can use synchronous methods and asynchronous methods. The lecturers can make learning teaching videos, upload to YouTube, and combines with communication by email, social media groups, faculty websites, and other forms. The student assessment is carried out using the learning management system that already developed by university or other systems that are the preference of lecturers and students. For example, academic information systems through semester integrated university information system or COBA, outcome-based assessment information system. And how about practicum, ladies and gentlemen? Laboratory practices can be replaced by online methods. For example, online simulation, dry labs activities, videos, lab case study, and etc. And after finish, we then evaluate the outcome learning. If not enough, we will conduct or carry out such crash program to reach the learning outcome of the practicum, because the practicum is a skill-based education, not like lecturing. Lecturing is a knowledge-based activity. And then how about thesis, bachelor and master programs? From the bachelor program, research is recommended using a review methods. Narrative review, evidence review, systematic review, or literature study, and survey data collection. Data collection, we can use online searching, online database, website, internet, and etc. How about for master and PhD programs? Students are not yet permitted to work in the faculty laboratory until the COVID-19 infection pandemic subsides, with considering dispensation. But start from maybe this month or next month, we gradually open the laboratorium for master and PhD students. Special for master program of clinical pharmacy and master program of pharmacy management who have not finished the proposal, it is recommended to be switched to safer data collection methods, for example, from website, online, and etc. And the proposal and final thesis examination are conducted online activities. And how about professional working practices, PSPA, professional educational program. We changed with sharing content methods via videos, presentation, making learning videos, in industry, pharmacies, hospitals, health centers. We also carry out group sharing, discussion groups involving field supervisors, preceptors, or practitioners, students who have done professional working practices, and students who have not done professional working practices. We also involve our alumni that already did professional working practices. And then we also carry out online teaching learning by practitioners and preceptors. And then we evaluate the learning outcome, and we provide such crash program to minimize the gap of learning outcome, ladies and gentlemen. And how about graduation? Graduation, ceremonial graduation is conducted by online. Ladies and gentlemen, it is one of learning outcome that is already developed by my university, namely ELOC, a learning open for knowledge sharing. This one massive open online course base. ELOC is a Moodle-based learning system, ladies and gentlemen. We can upload such, teaching materials and also questions, quiz, assignment, create discussion, through this learning system, namely ELOC, a learning open for knowledge sharing. We also have another e-learning, ladies and gentlemen, namely ELISA, a learning system for academic community. Principally, it is very similar with previous e-learning. Thank you very much, and then back to Professor Triana.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Agu, for your insight on the policy and the facilities provided by the Faculty of Pharmacy in Universitas Gadjah Mada in response to the teaching and learning during the pandemic situation. And then we will move to our next speaker, Professor Dr. Gerhard Furtwängler, MPH. Professor Furtwängler is a professor in clinical research and epidemiology, University of Applied Sciences and Arts, Hannover. And he's also a member of Senior Expertise Services, or SES, Germany. Professor Furtwängler has been the professor in clinical research and epidemiology at the University of Applied Science and Arts, Hannover since 2010. He obtained his PhD in medical law and ethics from the university in Halle, Tyrol, Austria. He holds further degrees in epidemiology from University in Bielefeld, Germany, and clinical research methodology from John Moores University, Liverpool, UK. His education and professional background makes him a very versatile specialist in the areas of pharmacy, medicine, and ethics. He carried out and accompanied numerous research projects in the area of clinical research and published scientific reports on research results. He also worked in management positions for various international companies and a visiting professor in the USA and India. He is also an expert at the Senior Expertise Services, Germany leading volunteering organization for expert and retired executives. Professor Furtwängler has assigned the SAS mission as visiting professor at the Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Gadjah Mada in 2019. Okay, Professor Furtwängler, guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen.
Wie geht es Ihnen?
Mir geht es gut.
Okay.
Somebody need to help me to get my my
Okay,
slides
yeah. Okay.
because I'm
Somebody
still
will
deactivated.
Okay. Somebody will help
Now
you
we can
then.
do it.
Is it okay already?
Sure. Are you fine?
Okay. Just make, yeah.
Now it should work now. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, your slide is nice. We can see it nicely. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone. Good morning to everyone. And thank you very much for inviting me and for having me today to take part in
Pleasure
this
ours.
webinar session. So it's really my pleasure to be here. And we did hear already a lot how different universities and different people did manage this very special situation now under the corona pandemic. And I want to give you also some kind of inside information how I could manage at our university. You know that I'm already a little bit older. I'm not that much used to all these new technology tools. So, but I try to manage during the last semester, and I want to give you some information about that. So before starting, I want to talk a little bit about our university, because that you should have an idea what I'm talking about when I do explain to you how we did adapt to the new situation. So then there was some question at the beginning to say, okay, should we run the semester or should we stop it? Then for many of my colleagues, and definitely for me, it was the first time to be exposed to the need for online teaching. And what about open source communities? I will give you a little report on my digital summer term. And I want to give also some kind of recommendation, what's important for students now, and also what we will be planning or what we do now for the upcoming winter term. So for all the ones who do not know our university, we are one of 5 state universities which are located in Hanover in the northern part of Germany. And our university in our area is the second biggest one in regards to number of students. 10,000 students doesn't seem to be too many, but the Leibniz universities has almost 40,000. So there is a big student community in Hanover, but the state universities are very specialized in regards to certain subjects where they deliver their study programs. We have 5 faculties, and those faculties are engineering, economics, computer science, art and design, and of course, health and social sciences. So we do have almost 70 different study programs, and we offer bachelor and master degrees. And of course, we also do have PhD courses. And you might have recognized that our university is called University of Applied Science. What does it mean at the end of the day? Applied science means here in Germany, those type of universities, they are very special because they do integrate already practical phases into the study programs during the time when the students are at the university. So what we want to do, we want to expose them to professional experiences and make them also or bring them in a position so that they can make contacts with companies already. And following this approach means that we do have also very small learning groups, because we want to have in our theoretical modules, we also want to follow our approach that is directed by a very application-oriented mode. So now we did start our semester in March. At the beginning of March 2020, and 10 days later, after the semester started, our university was shut down. Because you know that early March, we had a big problem with the corona pandemic in Germany, and all the public institutions were closed. And it was really a dilemma somehow, because what we had at that time when we did start thinking about how to continue, we said, okay, our approach is that we want to be next to the students, we want to be close to them, we want to see them in the seminar room, in the classroom, and we want to have direct contact and interactions with them. But this wasn't any longer possible. So we had to close down, and we need to decide, okay, how we can best make sure that students will be properly provided with all the material and with all the content that they should learn, or that they were supposed to learn in this semester. So, and then for a small period of time, there was a tendency to say, okay, maybe we should not continue with the semester, we might cancel it. So we might then just say, okay, we do our best now, we give them some kind of free time, and then we do restart in winter when the situation might have improved. But we had a long discussion, and we said, okay, what is our responsibility? We need to teach, we need to do research, we need to make sure that we do have this kind of transfer of knowledge to society. But we also have some kind of responsibility to take care of the people next to us, our students. And then we said, okay, maybe there is a way that we find the right balance between our responsibility to provide teaching and our responsibility to make sure that nobody is exposed to some kind of risk that we can't control. So, and then we just thought, okay, how we can make it. And we did a kind of survey within the team of colleagues at our university. And we said, oh, yes, we want to continue. Students shouldn't be disadvantaged. And then we got also some kind of support from our university management board, who tells us, okay, listen, in case you need some kind of help to get introduced to certain tools that you can be using to do your online or distance learning. So we can implement something that helps you to make you more familiar with all the tools that are currently available. And we did hear already a lot about Moodle. I will come to that later again, because this learning management system is also used in our university, but also other tools like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, or one specific feature that is offered by Moodle, the big blue button. All of that are used, and it was more or less given to the individual professor to decide for him or herself what he want to use in the future to provide his lectures and seminars. Yeah, first time online teaching, definitely for me, it was the first time. So we are a quite modern university, and of course there are also colleagues who are very familiar with all this kind of technological issues. And also in the past, they did use already online teaching, but I never did use it before. So I really love to be in the classroom and to have the direct contact with the students. But so we had to learn how we could really manage the crisis. And I learned a lot about different communication ways, and I learned also how to apply them on different levels. So just to give you some kind of flavor, what I was faced with. So I do provide 3 courses, or I have provided 3 courses during this semester. I was luckily able to finish all the courses yesterday. So my semester now is over, and I'm very happy, because it was really a very exhausting semester. So 3 courses and 1 student project. In the student project, I did work with the Robert Koch Institute. This is our German Center for Disease Control. And we did analyze a data set on child health in Germany. So this was one of my duties in this semester. And what is also important to understand, that at our university, we use Moodle, and at the beginning of the semester, all the material, anything that is needed for a certain module or for a certain seminar or lecture, all the material is going to be posted up front on Moodle. So if somebody is going to register for a course, he or she can easily identify what will be the content, on which date, which lecture will be held, what will be the content of the lecture, what are the assignments, is there any kind of extra exercises to be done. So we do have that during our routine training programs already, and I'm using the Moodle system intensively. So I do have everything already on that platform when the semester starts. And this Moodle platform also allows us to contact students individually or also as a group. And I said, okay, listen, so you did register for this course, from my course, and we do have the chance now to postpone the course to the next winter term, or we can do it in summer, and then we need to find a different way how this content is going to be delivered to you. And the students, they were very much in favor of continuing, and they were very much in favor of also giving me the option to choose any kind of a transfer channel to get the content delivered to them. So, and I said, okay, if this is what you want, I try to do my best so that you can run the semester, or we can run the semester as initially planned. What about open source communities? Open source, for me, they were very, very, very much helpful. So especially when we work with small groups, sometimes you don't need to have a license, for example, for Zoom. If you want to work with that tool. So it is easy. You can work really with this, with the system that is as open source, freely available. So for me, it was very helpful, because I told you at the beginning that I was not that much used to it, to use this kind of technology. So what I did, I screened all the information on the web to see, okay, what could be an option for me? And what could be something that I can easily grab and easily learn, so that I will also be able to modify my style of lecturing by using this technology systems. And I decided to use different types, not only going via Zoom or going only via Moodle. I also did, for example, audio tapes, and sometimes I did really also live and online sessions like we do it today now with Zoom as a kind of webinar. Where I am today now, after initial difficulties, so I was able to manage somehow, but I also have to say that sometimes it was not that easy, and it was a lot of work. So just as a little example, at the beginning, I did one of my seminars this semester was the Introduction to Epidemiological Methods. And I did an audio tape, and the audio tape was about 1 hour and 20 minutes. And everything was fine. And it was my first audio tape, early March. And then I did just listen to my audio tape before I did upload it on Moodle. And then I realized that I wasn't really happy with the greeting at the beginning, because I said, okay, the greeting is not as it should be. It wasn't really friendly. And I said, okay, you have to change it. And then I was able to cut it out, the first part, but I wasn't able to add something. And I said, okay, now we don't have any greeting in our audio tape. And I do start my seminar without saying hello. And this was also not fine. So I did restart the entire audio tape 1 hour and a half again. And I said, okay, maybe you need to be very careful now, because if you do a mistake again, you have to do it again and again and again. So I was so much under pressure. So for all the people here listening to me who say, okay, this is easy and it's an easygoing way of providing lectures and seminars, for me, it was not. So after several weeks, I was adapted to this. And I was also able to, how should I say, more easily make my audio tapes and make my online my online lectures. But it's still different to this kind of classroom sessions that I was used to so far. Okay, At my faculty, so we were able to offer almost 90% of the courses online. So there was no disadvantage for the students. So what we did also on faculty level is we also adapted our module examinations. So we still have written exams and they will be starting after 18th of June. So in those written exams, so in a classroom, they will have very special conditions and there will be very special environmental conditions implemented. That means that there's only a very low number in the classroom and we have one written exam in different classroom in parallel, because to make sure that there will be a proper distance between the individual student places at their desk. So we also have our objective to, how should I say, to follow our application orientation. So we did that by weekly exercises and a lot of students' assignments. And I also ran a course in the second semester, the course on epidemiology. And I wasn't really sure during the semester, is it really something that students do understand? Do they really follow up? Because epidemiology is also about calculating figures and interpreting figures. So this is really something that is handsome and practical. And usually when I run the course in the classroom, I always help the students also with practical exercises and with my comments to really understand the theory about it. And this is the background about it. And I wasn't really sure, but yesterday I had a long big blue button session with the course and with the students. And I realized that the majority of them was able to really fill out and and to work on the assignments, and they really did very well. So I am happy that with all these extra, how should I say, difficulties now in this semester, it seems to be that the outcome on the student end should be still fine. Okay, so from my very personal perspective, I have to say that it is definitely more work for the teaching faculty. So to change the courses and to modify the courses and to adapt the content so that it can be used for a distance learning approach. So just as an idea for another lecture, for another seminar, I created the kind of script with 180 pages. So this is almost a little booklet. It really took me a long, much time to get this properly done. And it was done in parallel when I did run the sessions already during this semester. Now it's ready. I'm happy. I say it is very worthwhile because for the next semester I have it. I would have never done that without Corona, because this is definitely something where I would have given up in between. But now with this pressure that I want to be at least a good professor, so I really spend a lot of time. And you can ask my wife, because I'm at home all the time, yeah, and I'm sitting here in my home office all day from the morning until the end of the day. But it is definitely not free time, even if I don't have to spend time at university in my office. So I really had a lot to do, and I really try to make it, how should I say, to make it digestible for the students. From my perspective, what was my message to the students? Yeah, and for the students, they are definitely more used to apply this kind of devices. So I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on Instagram or something. I don't use this kind of systems, but the students do. They are much more, much closer to all this kind of technologies. So, but what I told them, this is one part, and you definitely have an advantage compared to me personally. So you know much better how to use it. But what is also important is that you have to learn now to develop skills to learn online and become self-directed learners. Because what we heard already from the other speakers, it's not that easy to follow up on them if somebody is really actively involved or if somebody is just listening, or even don't listen, because if it is an audio type, you don't have any kind of confirmation that the audio type was open at the student end. So they really need to be more responsible for themselves. And what I always told them, try to keep in contact with your peers so that you really have the exchange of information, because to be a student means not only to grab what the professor is telling you, you should also be able to transfer and to discuss this content of a lecture, for example, with your peers, so that you might also get the chance to have another perspective or something. And then also to manage your time effectively. What does it mean? Yeah, if you do not have to show up at university anymore, so you need to learn on yourself, and you need to give the speed that you will be using to learn the stuff that is provided to you. And it's also important to understand that in Germany, the education is free. You don't have to pay for university courses. The education is free, and normally there is a very high level of freedom also for the students, either to attend seminars or lectures or not to come to university. There is not a legal requirement to show up in the classroom. So it's most important for them that they will be able to answer the questions during the final module exam. If they did learn everything from a book in their home office or in their apartment, it's also fine. At the end, we just want to know that they know the content, but it is not required, it's not mandatory to sit in the seminar room. But nevertheless, what I always told the students, to stay connected with the professors and lecturers, and in case you have questions, ask the questions. And my way of doing it was telling them any question should be posted on Moodle, so that all the people who are registered in the Moodle course, they see what kind of questions have been addressed already and what type of answer was given by the professor or by the lecturer. So it is not something that should happen on an individual communication channel between one individual student and the professor. It should be so that in a way that the entire group who did register for the course, that everybody has the same level of information. Yeah. Okay, from my point of view, what is planned for the coming semester? Nobody knows how it is going on. So we did reopen the university a little, but we still consider to continue also in the winter term with the distance learning approach. So we might not go back to classroom sessions already that early, although there has a lot of reopening activities already during the last 2 weeks. But let's see what's going on over the summer period, and when we do start again in October, what it will mean for us and how we can really continue with our teaching responsibilities. From my perspective is that what we did learn, because we were under pressure, we had to do something, that our university will also definitely continue using distance learning as a regular part of the education. Even if it was not the case in the past, so it will be the case in the future, because now with this very positive feedback from all the parties involved, I guess that for some modules, the distance learning approach will remain also in the future, even if there is no need because of the pandemic. Yeah. And then I think it is also, if you follow the public discussions in Germany, then you will also realize that the digital services, for example, and what is important for universities to have, that this is definitely something that is already now under very detailed discussions, and all the schools and kindergarten and universities, everybody is talking about tablets and everybody is talking about the digital environment. So because we were maybe not in the position as we should have been in this country, and now there will be a lot of investment to make all the institutions feasible to run courses also online. Yeah, I also have, I want to speak for myself, and what I wanted to say is that from my perspective, the greatest challenge is that there might be still a lack of capacity to modify lectures and seminar content to distance learning models. So we all did manage somehow, but maybe we could have done better. So far, everybody is happy, yeah, but so we don't have a systematic approach how to do that. And also, many of us haven't been trained in the past on this kind of DL methods. And I think this is something of some kind of disadvantage where our university definitely will, will start programs to help the academic staff to be better prepared. Yeah. What I learned from this semester is that, and what I can also recommend to anyone else who might be faced in the future with a problem like this. So please develop your teaching process with empathy and care for students. Yeah. If you really like teaching, then you also need to transfer your specific empathy, like that you like teaching. You also should transfer that to distance learning methodology, and also have in mind what the student workload can be for a week or for 2 weeks. Yeah. We had a lot of, or I had a lot of discussions with students or what kind of assignments or how many of them they are really able to properly work on during a week in a semester. And what we did today already is also something that I'm very much in favor of. So talk to other people, build your own communities of practice. So any kind of mistake that has been done at our university doesn't have to be repeated at UGM, for example, or the vice versa. So when we talk to each other, even if we go across or beyond the border of your country, so there might be some kind of issue that you can also take into consideration when you plan your own program at your university. So I did learn this morning already a lot from the other panelists when they did present their talks. And I made my notes, and I will definitely use some of those items for my future work. And I hope that when you develop your own community on this specific issue, this will also help to understand better and to even more adapt to a proper system that helps our student not to run in a phase where they might be disadvantaged. Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for your attention. So, and once again, thanks for having me. And in case of any question, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Portminer, for sharing us how the teaching and learning conducted in Hanover, and to share your personal experience and perspective. I underline your statement about we learned a lot about crisis management and communication on the different level, and also your tips about to plan our next semester distance learning involving student participation. That's really worth taking. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to our last but not least, of course, the speakers. The third speakers, we will have the Associate Professor Dr. Surakit Natisuan. Good afternoon, Professor Surakit. Professor Surakit, hi. Hello, nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Okay. So Professor Surakit is his ASEAN PalmNet representative. He's also the lecturer at the Faculty of Pharmacy, Mahidol University, Thailand. And Professor Surakit received his Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy from Mahidol University in 1994 and a Doctor of Pharmacy degree from the University of Florida in 1999. He later completed a specialized residency in pharmacotherapy from the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio and became a board-certified pharmacotherapy specialist in the USA in 2001. He is currently working as a faculty member at the Faculty of Pharmacy, Mahidol University, Thailand. His main area of teaching and research interest is cardiovascular pharmacotherapy. His teaching role covers undergraduate, postgraduate, and residency or fellowship levels. His research focus is on anticoagulants, where he has been publishing numerous works both locally and internationally. In addition, he has been actively working with professional organizations to advance competency of Thai pharmacists toward patient-oriented care in the cardiovascular disease area. So I think Professor Surakit, the time is yours, please.
Thank you so much. Please allow me to share. Can you give me permission to share?
Yeah, sure.
Everyone see the slides?
Yes.
Perfect. First of all, thank you so much for UGM for hosting this webinar. And it's quite tough to be the last speaker after after 4 speakers that are excellent in terms of delivering all the key issues that impact us every day. So I will try to avoid repeating what they said and trying to perhaps give you a summary and then add some of the flavors into what all those speakers have said. Of course, we have been talking about how this impact, this coronavirus pandemic, they impact our life. And if you are interested to read more about, how this impact the whole world of education, you can just go and read this World Economic Forum paper. And this is just to highlight what Professor Gerhardt just said, where with the coronavirus, it's almost like a catalyst to replace our students away from classroom and now having to rely on the online education. And look at the number, it's quite staggering that 1.5 billion students have to stay out of school. And the picture on the left is, of course, the top one is the picture that goes with this article, but the lower one, does she look familiar to you if you see my face? That's my baby. She is my youngest daughter, who also have to study online. And of course, when I look at myself and my students, if the 4-year-old can do it, why can't we all do it? So I think that's something to be thinking about. And all the 4 speakers have make some excellent points. Vivian talked about remembering the instructional models as a basis to deliver education that you want. Zeno talked about challenges and issues to be addressed during the transition, how vast impact has been on us. Professor Agung talked about the government directives which impact university implementation and of course cascading down to the faculty level. And Gerhard just said and also shared with us the experience that he had personally, and also the experience from the student perspective. And I think all of them are very valuable. So, but I think all of the case studies that you have heard, all of them pretty much tell you that when you face with something as dramatic as disruption, you have to be able to have 5 things to be able to deliver education with success. You have to have agility, you have to have flexibility, you should be able to do your work continuously, maintain continuity of your business. And the last two things are also important. You need to engage your customers, engage your partners. You can't just do it without listening to your students. Student feedbacks, staff feedbacks on how to improve on things that we perhaps doesn't have much time to prepare for. How do we make things better? And the last thing is very important in this health crisis, which is safety. So if you can have these 5 things, I think everyone will be okay. And when you start thinking about the typical work process of pharmacy education, I think regardless of how many years of education, 4 years curriculum, 5-year curriculum, or 6-year curriculum, these are all the same. You have a prospective students coming in, and then you have to deliver these pre-pharmacy professional courses, and the techniques that you use are usually didactic, lab simulation, self-directed learning. And at the same time, you have this running in the background, longitudinal part, which is the advanced, the introductory and advanced professional training. And then you have to also engage preceptors and professional organization to make sure that your delivery of education meets those requirements, and also get support from those outsiders in order to deliver the production of pharmacists that you have. But of course, the virus came. So the whole process has been disrupted. What should you do now? This is just some slides of, similar to what Agung has shown, the university directive. My university also have these type of things. They give us some, guidelines of what to do. They talked about, they provide us with the tools, everything that the students and staff needs. But the good thing about when these things happen, at least from our perspective at Mahidol University, because we are very close to China, and we have very good relationship with the Chinese, and they likes to come to Thailand. So we know that we will definitely get this virus. It's just a matter of when and how much. So right at the beginning, before everything is closed, we know that we don't have much time. So what we think we did right is the early plan. We start this business continuity management plan way since the cases are just in just double digits. We talked about what we need to do, and then we implement it. And the way that we need to think about in terms of delivering successful education, these are the 6 things you have to think about. 1, your organization itself, the readiness, preparedness of your academic supporting staff, any policy, regulations, or control that you have to maneuver. You have to engage your customer, which is students. You have to engage your partners, which is preceptor and professional organization. You have to think about delivery methods that are available to you and to your students with the limitation that you have. Choose the platform that is most stable, easily accessed in your situation. No need to copy any university or any country. And then quality control is also very important. And the other thing that you need to think about is, of course, the IT backbone of the country, which is out of our control. And don't forget economic status, economic aspects that it hits students, parents of the students, and even yourself. So what we did when we first know that it's coming, we start talking to the students' leaders. Of course, we and them debating a lot on many things. In the picture, you see my dean, Professor Suwatana, and the team talking to all the students' leaders from every group, trying to talk to them about what we need to do and what would we do that they will be accepting. In fact, even though we disagree on several things, but at least I was very happy to hear that these students leaders says, I know that some of the teachers are a little bit, not so advanced in terms of technology. I volunteer to help them. So it turns out that students are willing to help the academic staff to do the to support the teaching too. And that was before pre-lockdown. And of course, when we know that we need to prime the students, we need to learn students' demand, we also need to train staff in a very short period. At MyDispense, we use Cisco WebEx, Microsoft Teams as a core platform. We also have some other programs, and we did this training. And the things that impressed me is that we have a lot of turnout. Usually when we have any meetings, sometimes they don't show up. But for this one, everyone, most of them showed up. Even professor who is retiring in September of this year, they still come and learn. And I'm very happy. And when you think about what would be the new work process that you have to think about, I would highly recommend you to go to these Accenture websites to look at how the new workplace will look like. And I think this is so good. Culture and awareness, which relates to your staff. Elastic collaboration, you have to be smarter in terms of how do you bring all the powers of partners that you have. You have to get used to the virtual work environment. You have to have seamless network, distributed continuity, and at the same time, security. Let me talk about the thing that others don't talk much about. First, at our university, these are the things we did to make sure that our students and our staffs are safe. First, we create portal to provide important public health information. Second, we buy health insurance for all students and staff for the whole university. We turn our university hospital to be the testing centers where we can test not only to serve the public, but we can also test our own students or staff under suspicion. We create the management workflow for the patient under investigation. And unfortunately, I have to use it for 2 cases here at my faculty. One for the student and one for the staff. And then the university also provide quarantine places for students and staff for free. And then at the same time, when the closure starts, we just have to just go for it. Since we know ahead of time it's coming, so we plan this. We do these WebEx trials for the students in every single class. We provide free SIM card for the students because we know that access to internet costs money, and the economic impact on the parents could somehow hurt the students to have the access to. And of course, after we train all the faculty members, we start doing this live and video recording and use WebEx and Microsoft Teams as the main portal that I said. But the most challenging thing is about, how do you compensate or replace learning to create skills and knowledge similar to the physical learning methods that we have been using. For the early years of education, at MyDispense, we used the 6-year PharmD program. The year 1 or year two, quite easy, directed teaching and labs that can be easily replaced with online and video recording. Year 3 and 4, a little bit more challenging. Year 5, which we usually do project-based learning, that's difficult to do. And at the same time, the experiential learning, which is rotation, that's the most difficult to manage. And because we used PharmD program, we do have clerkship to do. So when we look at our structure, we know that it's difficult because all the hospitals, especially hospitals that we sent students to do rotation, are all hospitals that are designated by the government to deal with COVID. And we don't want to send students there, and they don't want to accept our students. So what we decided to do is we shift the sequences. We bring up the elective clerkship rotations, therapeutic drug monitoring, drug information center, adverse drug reaction monitoring to be the first rotation, which we could do these things online by providing case for students to studies, and then let the students do the presentation, let the student discuss, meet on the virtual space. And we know that the situation will not last that long. So we will definitely be able to send the student back to rotation very soon. And in terms of the management of labs, experiential learning, clerkship rotations, we use all of these. Synchronous, asynchronous distance learning that some of the speakers already said. We transition from physical supervision to self-learning, supervision, and reflection. and we do home-based rotation, and we interact at the virtual space. And that's what we've been doing. This is an example of the home-based rotation. In this Thai language Microsoft Teams screen here, you can't read it, but you can probably look at some of the English language. Med 1, Med 2, AMBU, which is Medicine 1, Medicine 2, Ambulatory Care, DIS, TPN, Chemotherapy, Drug Information Services. These are the instructions to the students on how they would do this home-based, and how we change all the sequence, and what would be the methods of teaching, and also the schedules to meet online. At the same time, not only that, we have to continue our research. We still have to compete in terms of research. We cannot just let research die. We have to be a little bit more clever in terms of trying to do research during this closure of campus, during this lockdown. We did a lot of surveys. We did a lot of control of access. And these are the work of the Deputy Dean for Research, Dr. Malika from my university, who did a survey on research requirement, how many hours they need, which department needs, how many people need to come, and the lab layout to make sure that we can sequence the entry into the labs and avoid any contamination or avoid any contact. Lastly, I want to end here by saying that, of course, we need to do education, but the other missions of the university or faculty has to be there. These are the list example of some of the things that we as university, as a faculty of pharmacy at Mahidol University, serve the public. We provide them with all of the important information. We went on TV, we went on radio to teach public how to do. We use our knowledge to produce the certified 70% volume by volume alcohol, and then distribute it to universities and also other communities where they need it. We also give this to our preceptors, because there was a shortage, and some of the time we also faced with some substandard product on the market, and this is where we jump in and trying to help the public as much as we can. We also make a mask, and we, it turns out to be a big hit. The picture on the left is our former alumni who is the Miss International of 2019. She's our model to promote these masks, so our alumni can support us during this time. And on the right is the webinar to provide education on pharmacotherapy of COVID-19 to pharmacists across the country for free. And that's the other thing is we will continue to do everything that we are doing. This is the picture of teaching evaluation of our junior staff for promotion, so their life will not be stuck. They will continue to progress. But there are so many challenges ahead, and many of the speakers have already mentioned. For me, student and staff safety is always important, even though it seems the situation seems to be okay, but the virus is still here. International activities, student staff exchange, because we are very into international engagement, this will be a challenge, because we need to hold the whole world to, to be out of this situation before we can start doing that. We start to suffer from our international student enrollment that seems to drop drastically. We will face financial cuts because of the economic downturn that the government suffered, universities suffered, and faculty suffered. And at the same time, we will have to help as much as we can the economic status of the students and the families who come to Mahidol University. And I hope that all the participants, all the attendees of these webinar would learn some of the things that I share, and remember these 5 words: agility, flexibility, continuity, engagement, and safety. These are the key for your survival and your success. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Surakit, for summarizing and underlining what essential elements for success approach and to design the appropriate strategy in these drastic measures, and sharing with us the facilities provided to the student and staff, and also for the community, including health and safety aspect. Okay, I think we come to the Q&A session of this second plenary lectures. The first question will be to Professor Agung. The question is, there are several questions. It's almost the same. I will try to summarize about the, you know, that in Indonesia, some students come from remote areas, and maybe they will face some difficulties in internet connection, etc. And how the faculties help or deal with this situation. You still mute? Professor Agung, you still, okay, thank you.
You hear my voice?
Yeah, we do it. We hear it.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, for remote area students, that maybe there is some problem with internet network, the lecture, can provide the lecture and teaching activity with asynchronous methods. For example, e-learning, ladies and gentlemen. For this, how to say, purpose, I think asynchronous methods is very, very suitable for some, how to say, some students that have problem with how to say internet. The other choice, we can, how to say, use other methods of online activities. For example, how to say, by social media groups, or communication by email. In my case, Faculty of Pharmacy Universitas Gadjah Mada give such support from the students. Every month, we support the students, 100.000 rupiah, to use this for, how to say, by quota of internet. Many things we can support the students. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Professor Agung. So it's almost like what explained by Professor Surakit, right? That's the faculty provided support from students with need support on the internet quota. Okay. And then the second question to Professor Gerhard. This question is about the, you know, that lecturer face some difficulties to create learning medias, right? That will be a problem. Is there any special division or media teams, creative team, or at the university or faculty to assist the lecturer in creating more interactive online learning media? They're available?
At our universities, we do have a unit for it, yes. We do have different training courses for the faculty so that you can join those courses to learn how to do it, but this has nothing to do specifically with this pandemic now. Just those kind of training courses are also have been available already before. But now when you have to work under pressure, so it is really something that you don't think that much about how to learn it. You just try and to figure out by yourself. So honestly speaking, so I didn't attend any course. I did just my best. And I also tried to get in contact with the students to identify what type of feedback might be there on their end. And I always ask them, is there anything that I can do better so that you better understand the content? And I try really to, how do you say that? Learning by doing, But actually, at our university, you do have courses for professionals to really make it as good as you can. You can learn that,
Okay, thank you
but
very
there
much.
is no one, but maybe I did get the question in the wrong way. There is no one who is doing the transfer, who creates the slides for you,
Okay, no one? Okay.
No. There is no one who does the work for you, and I'm also not that much in favor, because you should really prepare your own stuff. Otherwise, you might be presenting something where you are not that familiar with. So this is something that should not happen.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Gerard.
You're welcome.
And also one question for Professor Surakit. Several questions regarding the laboratories learning that has to be replaced with the online learning during this pandemic. What do you think about it? Whether it's the student competence can be achieved, or whether there is a special assessment that's need to be done, or how is it then in Thailand?
Of course, when you think about different type of skills that you want to instill into your students, sometimes you need, the appropriate teaching techniques. And at this moment, with the situation that we have, we can at least replace some of the things that is can be totally done online, like providing instructional, the videos, like many other speakers have already mentioned. But I think in order to make sure that the students really get the skills that they will be required when they have to go and sit for the exam, for the license examination, I believe that after the end of this lockdown or closure, we perhaps have to do some assessment, and also to provide supplementary,
support, right?
Reinforcement on to make sure that things are okay. Because if you really look at the students' acceptance and performance in the online learning environment, I would say that after a period of adjustment, the overwhelming majority of the students are able to transition into that quite smoothly. But there might be some students, and that's a minority, where you probably have to do a little bit extra. And because at the end of the day, all pharmacy students have to sit for the exam, and in Thailand, we have the license examination, which is not only just MCQ, but also OSPI. So we probably have to make sure that throughout the process, before they get out of our door, all of them has to be able to meet that minimum requirement. And I think we can do it now the best we can, and at the same time, we can provide support during the period after this COVID too.
Okay. Do you think that the online learning can transfer values to the student? How do you think about that?
Oh, definitely.
Values. Definitely, yeah.
You mean what type of values are we talking about? You mean
ethics, attitude, something like that? Because some has a stigma that's it's something that as a lecturer should be a role models, and then that's something that only can be achieved through a face-to-face interaction. How do you think about that?
I don't think that's the only way.
Okay.
And like I said, you can achieve you can achieve the learning outcomes by using different methods that are available to you. Of course, one teaching methods cannot supply you with with everything that you need. But overall, I think we should be able to do it.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, dear honorable speakers, and also all the attendees. I think before we close this webinar, I would like to hear from each panelist, maybe one statement that can motivate us, because we will, I think this pandemic will not get over clearer very soon. And we should prepare for our next new normal in pharmacy education. Maybe I will start first from Vivian. Vivian, do you have something to share to us?
Yes, I think the main
Sure.
takeaway is to just be vulnerable with your students, and to be frank. If things don't go well, just be frank with them and say, I uploaded the wrong lecture, and I'm sorry, and then we just re-upload a new one. I think that's just the reality of it, and we need to do the same for our students. If the students make a mistake, that we need to be open to being a little bit more empathetic, I think, with the situation, and that we are all still learning. So I think mainly it's just not being too hard. I think as academics, we are very hard on ourselves when students are not happy, and then you feel like you're not a good teacher. And then that's when, we talk about us being, we have very high standards for ourselves on how things are. And when things don't go well and things don't go as planned, we take it quite hard as academics. And I think being vulnerable to students and saying, I don't feel good about this, but this is how it is, and just be okay with it, I think. So I think that's the main message, and not be afraid to try new things. And if they fail, that's okay. We just try something else.
Okay, thank you very much, Vivian. It's very powerful, actually. And Dr. Zeno, statement, please. Any message?
Thank you, Prof. Triana. I totally agree with Dr. Vivian. The other thing I would like to share is I think on the importance of being able to adapt to new things or new environment. Especially I was referring to myself and some of my colleagues who were so used to face-to-face interactions and stuff like that. But when these things happen, it caught us off guard. So I think it's important to just calm down and accept changes or more changes that are future changes to come. Accept them positively, and hopefully things will work well for us and for the students.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. And Professor Agung, maybe a brief message for us all.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Triana. Just only one sentence from me. Please, enjoy staying at home with learning and teaching activities. Working from home, please take the positive things, from the COVID-19 pandemic. Stay healthy and keep in touch each others, even though, via online communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Agung. I cannot agree more with enjoying staying at home working. Professor Gerhard, now your turn. Please, message for us all.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we are all faced with the same issue, so it's fine. And what I really want to say is that, so of course you have to exchange information about your experiences and what your plans and what you feel is somehow worthwhile to do and what somebody else should not do because you did realize that this is not the proper way to do it. You can do it in your local team, but you can also do it on an international level. And I just want to say thank you for having me today and for giving me the opportunity to listen to all the other people and to realize that not only me, but everyone else has the same issue and has the same problem. And I don't feel that bad anymore. And I will enjoy the rest of the day now here in Germany. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gerhard. And last but not least, Professor Surakit, please, your message.
Thank you. My message is very short.
Okay.
Don't let the virus stop you.
Okay. Very powerful.
Just forge ahead. Find a new way. Find a new way to do the same thing that you always do, and try to do it even better.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we come to the end of this webinar. We are apologizing for not being able to answer all questions directly due to our limited time availability. And for wrapping up this discussion, I found that it's really such a fruitful and this productive discussion we have this afternoon. I hope that everyone can benefit as it best from this webinar. And I would like to underline that even though we come from different countries, different culture background, we share some commonalities in adapting our teaching and learning activities in response to the pandemic. We all agree all that the adaptability to the digital technology is one key success for future leaders in pharmacy. The usage of online learning is exponentially grow and challenge its limit. But only by broadening network and sharing experiences and strategy to extract the lesson learned from this particular situation, the opportunity that come can be appreciated and the challenges can be well anticipated in order to prepare for our new normal in pharmacy education. Highly appreciated should be addressed to our honorable speakers for sharing the valuable experiences and expertise with us. And thanks for all participants and also the organizing committee. Our sincere apologize for any inconvenience caused by the technical problem, maybe. But you say, Vivian, that everyone should be okay, being vulnerable. Thank you for understanding and collaboration. Before officially close this webinar, I would like to quote an anonymous wise word which I find really relevant to this pandemic situation for keeping us being always optimistic. It says that not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear your path. Ladies and gentlemen, I think everyone wishes that the pandemic will get over soon, and the wise word from Muhammad Ali might help us to stay focused. Don't count the days, makes the days count. Thank you very much, everyone. Wish you all the best and have a nice day ahead. Stay safe, stay healthy, happy, and keep being productive. See you. Sampai jumpa. Auf Wiedersehen. Lahonka. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Kirhat, Professor Surakit, Dr. Vivian, and Dr. Zeno. Thank you very much. See you later. Okay.
Excuse me, the committee will ask us to have a photo session together.
Okay, yeah.
With I don't know how to greet all together with this style. I don't know. Don't ask me why, but the committee asked me to do this. I hope that panelists can do this, and I don't know. Maybe who will give the comment?
Saras, please. Okay.
Is it already okay? Anyone take the picture? Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoy the webinar. See you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao. Ciao.
Bye.